Well, g'day Year 7s and welcome to another video. We're still looking at algebra here. This is for exercise 5b for this one. Alright, and we're looking at evaluating expressions. And as part of evaluating expressions, which we'll get to very shortly, it also involves substitution. Alright, which I'll explain as well very shortly. Alright, so just some notes that we're going to go through here to evaluate. Again, language evaluate is basically just to substitute values into an expression and solve it. Alright, so to evaluate an expression or to substitute values means to replace each variable, and remember what our variables are. They are our letters, okay, and they are called what? Hopefully you've all said pronumerals. Replace each variable in an expression with a number to obtain a final value, or our answer basically. Alright, so for example, if x equals 3 and y equals 8, then x plus 2y evaluated would give, so this is basically saying wherever you're going to see x, you're going to put 3. Wherever you see y, you're going to put 8. Okay, so instead of x, we're going to put 3. Alright, instead of the y, we're going to put 8. Now we've got to be careful with this. This is our sort of next point down here. Remember 2y, what's happening between the 2 and the y? Yeah, hopefully you said, well, it's a times. There's a multiplication sign there, Mr. O'Donnell. Because, and I'll go down to this point here, a term like 4a means 4 times a, which we just went through. When substituting a number, we must include the multiplication sign. So when we've just got the number and the letter, or the coefficient and the pronumeral, we don't need to write the multiplication sign. But when we're evaluating and substituting a value in, it's important that we do, because if we don't, so for example, if a equal 2, which they've got in this example, not x, sorry, let's try that one again. If a equaled 2, and that is an 8, it's not a 9, if a equaled 2, alright, you wouldn't put a 2 straight in there, and because if you did, it would end up with 42, alright, which is very different from 4 times 2, which would give you 12. Okay, and that's the correct way. So make sure you put a multiplication sign in, and when you substitute it, that multiplication sign has to be included. Same here, it would be very different if we ended up having x, which is 3, remember, plus 2y plus 28, you'd get an answer of 31, okay, which is incorrect. It's actually 3 plus 2 times 8. Alright, which equals 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 3 gives us 19. So very different. So you can't forget that multiplication symbol. Don't just put a number straight in and get, like as we had here, 28, because that's incorrect. That is not right. And our last one, once an expression contains no variables, you evaluate using your normal order of operations. And remember that, we did that, which is our BIDMAS. Okay, so make sure you follow that, and you need to know that. If you did not understand that from our very first exercise, or very first unit going back at the start of Year 7, which seems so long ago, you need to go back and review that, because you need to understand that to be able to solve this stuff. Okay, alright. What are we going to do? We're going to try and solve some of these. So some examples. So, and this is how we show the working out. So on your page you would write exercise 5b question 1a. Alright, so forget all the other writing. Exercise 5b in red. Also in red is question 1 and a. Alright, here's our question. T plus 7. So given that t equals 5, so wherever we see t, we need to put the value, alright, which in this case is 5. So we put an equal sign off to the side. Instead of t, we write 5 plus 7. Underneath that, we write our equal sign. We don't keep writing our equals out here. Okay, and then we evaluate that. 5 plus 7, which is 12. Okay, that easy. This one. Now, before we start substituting our values in, what do we need to do? We need to show, and this is what I suggest everyone does, because otherwise you will get people here that'll, if t equals 5, you're going to write 85. Okay, and that is wrong. So what I suggest you do is, before you even start, 8. Expand that out, 8 times t. Now you can substitute. So wherever t is, we are putting 5. So t is 5, so 8 times 5, which equals 40. Okay. Alright, this one looks a little bit more complicated. But we still go through exactly the same process. Now we don't need to expand this out. What does this sign here mean? What does this sign here? Okay, it's written like a fraction, but this vernaculum, remember we just did that in the last unit, it means division. Okay, so when you work this out, you're actually dividing. So we write this equation out again, and I'm actually going to write underneath because I don't think I'm going to have enough. I might have enough room, we'll try. Okay, the 10 goes on the top. I write my fraction. Instead of t, I'm writing 5. Okay, then we say plus 4, and we say minus t, which again is 5. Okay, so now what part of this do we solve first? Remember our bid mass, you can't forget your bid mass. Okay, so which part of this do we solve first? Do we do 4 minus 5? Or no, we don't. Good, hopefully you have said no, you do the division part first, Mr. O'Donnell, and this is division here, the 10 over 5. Okay, so 10 divided by 5, which is 2 plus 4 minus 5. Okay, alright. Now we just do multiplication, subtraction, left to right. Okay, so we go 2 plus 4, which is 6, minus 5, which equals 1. Alright, so pretty simple. All you do is substitute your values in, then work it out. Next one, substitute x equals 4 and y equals 7. So in this example we only had one value to substitute in. Here we've got 2, we've got an x and we've got a y. So our first one, 5x plus y plus 8 equals, and this is what you need to do first. So we're going to actually put that times in first, 5 times x plus y plus 8. Now we can substitute in. So wherever I see x, I'm going to put a 4. Wherever I see a y, I'm going to put a 7. Okay, so 5 times x is 4 plus y, which is 7, plus 8. Now we follow our bid mass, so times multiplication becomes before addition. So 5 times 4 is 20 plus 7 plus 8, which equals 20 plus 7, which is 27, plus 8, which gives me 35. There's our answer. Okay, really simple. Follow the process, follow the steps. Next question, we've got 80 minus 2xy plus y. Okay, now we can't add these guys together, and we'll get into that in actually I think the next video maybe about like terms. You can't add these because there's a y there, you can't add this y because this y is actually attached to your 2 and your x. Alright, but we go through the same process. Now I'm going to have to do this underneath because I'm not going to have enough room there. Alright, so I'm going to have 80 minus 2 times x times y plus y. Okay, don't change anything here. Now we substitute in. Wherever we see x, we're going to put 4. Wherever we see y, we're going to put 7. Nothing else changes. Minus 2 times x is 4 times y, which is 7, plus y, which is 7. So wherever we see y, we're going to put 7. Okay, hopefully I've got enough room here. I don't do anything here because I'll work out my brackets. Bid mass, brackets first. Okay, and I'll do multiplication, so I'm going to do these guys first. So the 80 and the minus stay there. 2 times 4, which is 8, and 8 times 7. What's 8 times 7? Hopefully you get 56 for that one, plus 7. Okay, just doing it a step at a time, I'm not doing too much. So 2 times 4 gives me 8. 8 times 7 gives me the 56, that's how I got that, and these other 7 is just going to tack on there at the moment. Now I can do this, 80 minus, I can keep the brackets if I want to, but I don't need to, 56 plus 7, which is 63. Okay, I don't have to write those brackets if I didn't want to, because once I've got down to that single number, I don't need them, but I'll just write them there at the moment. And then we just do 80 minus 63, which gives us 17. Alright, and there is your answer. 80 minus 63 gives us 17, and that is it. Alright, so it's not hard. Yes, it takes a bit of time to work out. You've just got to be willing to do that. Alright. Okay, last one. These are a little bit more difficult. Alright, but we're going to go through them anyway. Alright, so A, 3 times, actually, we'll start working at the top here. might be better because that's the process. So you write your first question, then out the side 3 times p squared. Okay, wherever we see p we put 4, wherever we see t we put 5. No t's here, so we're just looking at 4. So it's 3 times, wherever we see p we put 4. This squared stays there, so we've got 3 times 4 squared. Following our bid mass, okay, the I in bid mass stands for indices. So here we have an indice, it is a power. So we've got to work that out before we do the 3 times 4. Okay, if we did 3 times 4 is 12 and still kept the squared, gives us a very different answer because 12 squared is 144. Alright, if you did it that way, if you did 3 times 4 and then did your squared at the last section, you'd get that, which is wrong. So you've got to do your square part first. Before you do multiplication and division up here, you do your indices, the I. So it's 3 times, or it's 4 squared, which is 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay, and 3 times 16 is, come on, work it out. 3 times 10 is 30, 3 times 6 is 18. So we've got 30 plus 18 gives us 48. So you get a very different answer. So don't do it that way. Make sure you work that out first. So 48 for that one. Here, t squared. So now we've got 5. Alright, so instead of t, we put 5 squared plus p squared, which is 4 cubed. Okay, 5 squared and 4 cubed. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. Please don't do 10. You guys need to get beyond that part now. So if you're doing 5 squared is 10, it is not 5 plus 5, it is times. Okay, it is how many, this little number up here tells you how many times you multiply this number by itself. So it's 5 times 5. Here it is 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, not 4 plus 4 plus 4, it is 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, and let's work that out. 4 times 4 is 16. It's going to do a bit of work down here. Times 4. 4 sixes are 24. 1 4 is 4 plus that, 62. Okay, and now we can add those together. 5 and 2 is the 7. 6 and 2 is the 8. 87. 25 plus 62 is 87. Okay, last one. I'm going to work under here because I don't have enough room. Alright. A little bit more complicated, but we follow the same process, don't get confused. So p squared, so p is 4. So we're doing 4 squared, okay? Come on, work your little square bit. Alright, that'll do. Plus 3 squared, don't have to substitute anything else in. We keep this square root sign at the moment, we're not going to do anything with that. 4 squared is 16, plus 3 squared, which is 9, okay? We're not doing anything with this square root. It stays there at this point. We can do 16 plus 9 in here, which is 25. Now, can we find the square root of 25? So what number multiplied by itself gives us 5? We just did that up here. Okay, so the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, and that's it. That's done. They're all your examples. So if you lost any of them, make sure you go back and have a look at any examples that you're not sure of. If you're confused with this type of stuff with the cubes and the squares, you've really got to go back and square roots. You've got to take some time and learn some of that stuff. If you don't know where to find information like that to learn it, you need to come and ask me so you can work it out, because you can't do this stuff if you don't know this stuff. Okay, with the square roots and bid mass and all that type of stuff. So it's really important you understand this basic things, these basic mathematical concepts to be able to do this stuff. Really important. So if you're having trouble, make sure you come and see me. We're going to have to give you some extra work, but that's what you've got to do. You can't be afraid of extra work. If you're not willing to do the extra work, you're not going to get any better at maths. Sorry, no way around it. You've just got to work. Problem after problem. Only way to learn this stuff. All right, I'll let you go. So that is exercise 5B. Go get them. Off you go. Bye-bye.